Let's go to the sports hotline and welcome in to the locker room a former Philly, one of my favorite names that Harry Cal's ever said. Let's welcome into the locker room Micky Morandini. What's up, Mick?
How you guys doing?
I tell you what, every time I say your name, it gives me a smile because I always remember, it brings back great memories of Harry Cal's calling your name, Mick. I mean, obviously, you step up to the batter's box or you're in your field position, but all the people at home will never forget that, man.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Every time I go out into the city or I'm out somewhere, that's the first thing people say to me. I love the way Harry said your name, so that's pretty awesome.
Hey, did you ever think growing up or when you were in the minors that your name alone would be so synonymous with Philadelphia, with fans in Philly?
No, absolutely not. But it does have a nice flow to it when Harry said it. It's got those,
Well, that's because it's Italian.
7 syllables in it, so it worked out good. It was proud to, I got to know Harry really well, and what a great guy and great announcer, and I was proud to have him say my name. It was pretty awesome.
All right, Mick. The Phillies are in a little transitional period right now. We were talking earlier today here in the locker room about the expectations for the Phillies at the beginning of the season, the expectations for the Eagles in the beginning of their season, and I'm just wondering, like from your standpoint, because you're close to the team, you're like they're on Budsman, you're there all the time. What happened, Mick?
Well, first off, you had 8 players on your original spring train or roster coming out of spring training, and Williams, Quinn, Odubel, Altier, and then the 4 relievers, the 3 veterans, and Dominguez. You had 8 guys that you were counting on to have big contributions to this team, and all you got nothing from them pretty much. You got a little bit from Quinn in the middle of the year there, but really you got nothing from any of those guys. And I think that was a big part of it. And then obviously the starting pitching was not what they thought it was going to be, and the offense was up and down. But we know this. You can't go by what the team looks like on paper. There were a lot of good teams that look great on paper, and it's all about performing on the field. And overall, they just didn't perform on the field like the brass and the ownership thought they would.
So, Mickey, so obviously they get rid of Gabe Kapler took a lot of the heat for the underachievement of the team, but is it all the manager's fault?
Oh no, absolutely not. I think the big thing that for me that really hurt Gabe was he didn't hold his players accountable, and I think that's what they're looking for in their next manager when they're interviewing Showalter and Girardi and Dusty, is that they're looking for a manager to hold these players accountable. And when you play a bad game and you don't do the fundamentals right, and you come on and say, we'll just got to prepare for tomorrow, no big deal. The players take to that. I think they need to be held accountable. I think they need to be pushed, and I think the managers that they're interviewing can do that.
Mickey, especially your team, the '93 team. I mean, you had guys police themselves, right? I mean, I remember seeing Ronald Acuna Jr. not running a couple balls out for the Braves, and not only was he scolded by his managers, Freddie Freeman took him aside.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hold the players accountable. And I remember in Atlanta when Andrew Jones misplayed a fly ball and literally walked after it to get to the fence. Bobby Cox sent out a new center fielder right then and there, and Andrew Jones had to jog or walk off the field in huge embarrassment. And when you do things like that, one, it catches the eyes of the other players, but two, it sends a message, and usually it doesn't happen again. I remember when I first got called up, I was a shortstop coming up through the minor leagues. I went to second base in AAA. It was the first time I'd ever played second base. So I get called up in September, and I forget to cover first on a bunt play. And I look into the dugout at Veterans Stadium, and Larry Bowa is standing at the top of the dugout there. And I knew, I said to myself, I hope this inning never ends, because I know when I go in there.
Did you feel like going to the other dugout?
I did. And we get out of the inning, and I don't even make it to the step, and he's screaming and yelling and putting his finger in my chest. And I tell you what, it was embarrassing, but you know what? And I always covered first base after that. It never happened again.
Even if it didn't go there, right? You just went to first base.
Exactly. I just kept running to first, even on second and stuff. So, but that's what these players need today. And you know, it's a different type of athlete today. They don't take to criticism well. They don't, you know, a lot of them you cannot voice your opinion or yell. A lot of them have excuses. So at times it's hard to coach these athletes today.
You know, it's funny. It's Scotty McKay, and you know, I was just going to say to you, do you think it's tougher today? And I'm a coach. I coach an ice hockey program, and I found it extremely difficult, even from 6-7 years ago, the way these people respond to criticism, even if it's good criticism. They just seem to cower.
They need to
and
go to a
walk
safe
down.
space.
Yeah, it's like that, you know. And I think what Billy was saying earlier was that you had a team that had 6-7 guys that wouldn't
Macho
allow
Row.
you. They'd be at the top of that step waiting for you to come, and they don't have
Right.
that today. I don't believe.
Is there
You
any?
don't, and you know, part of it is the parents. I think the parents put all these players on such a high pedestal that they're all going to be the next, you know, Mike Trouts. And anytime something goes wrong, it's not the player's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's, you know, somebody else's. It's always somebody else's fault. And when you're a young player and you're hearing all this stuff, you know, it kind of resonates. And players don't like to be criticized anymore. And you know, a lot of these players, to be honest with you, couldn't play back in the day when we played. They'd crack.
Right.
They really would. So it's a different breed. You really got to know your personnel. Some guys you can yell at. Some guys you got to give them a pat on the back. You know, I was always told if there's a coach yelling at you, that's a good thing because that means he thinks you have potential.
He cares.
Thinks you
Yeah,
can
right.
do better,
Yeah.
and he cares about you. And they always said if he doesn't ever say a word to you, then that probably means that he doesn't care about you. He doesn't think you can play any better, and he's content on what you're doing. But I always kind of got motivated by when I got yelled at because I hated to strike out. I was embarrassed to walk back to that dugout after I'd struck out, and you just don't see that too much today.
We're talking with former Philly Micky Morandini.
Mickey, also, do you think it's super important for the organization to go out and find a guy that can have like specific skill sets, whether it be analytics or whether it be the old school kind of coach? Do you think it's really important for them to find a guy that has a good blend and balance of that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. I know Matt's a big analytics guy, so I guarantee you whoever they're hiring, there's got to be some analytics involved, probably quite a bit of analytics involved. And I think even though the three managers that they're interviewing are old school guys, I do think they've incorporated some analytics, and I think that's a good thing. Analytics is very important, and I think it's very useful. It's just a matter of what information do you give these guys, what can they take from it. I think sometimes it's just overload. And, you know, sometimes you got to manage from the heart, sometimes from the gut, sometimes with your instincts, but other times you got to use those analytics. So I think all three of these guys will do that. And I'm a Joe Girardi fan just because I know him personally, and he has a good blend to him. I think Showalter's a little more of do it my way or the highway type of guy, from what I understand. But we'll see what happens. But I think you can't go wrong with any three of them.
So you're a Joe Girardi guy.
I am, and I Joe's a Northwestern guy, and I'm an Indiana guy, and we played college baseball against each other. And he was with the Cubs, and he left the Cubs right when I got there, a little bit before I got there. So he seems like a great guy. I saw how emotional he got about CC Sabathia the other day
Right.
on MLB Network. So that shows me that he cares about his players, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, what about a Clint Hurdle? Well, I'm
I
surprised.
always
I'm
liked
surprised
Clint.
he's not in the conversation.
You know, I don't know Clint at all, so I can't really comment on him. He was in that organization for a long time, but I honestly don't know him. I don't know
Okay.
Clint that well. They only had a few winning seasons in Pittsburgh, but I don't know if that was because of Clint or
I don't know
just
if
the
that's
lack
his
of
fault.
talent. But, right.
Well, listen, Mick, man, we really appreciate you taking a couple minutes here on Saturday morning. You know, there's nothing like October baseball, and hopefully, maybe in the next couple years, we can turn this around and get some baseball back in October here in Philadelphia.
Who
I'm with you. I think we're going to be all right. We got some pieces in place. We just need to, tweak the starting pitching a little bit, and maybe get a good power hitting third baseman or something like that in here. And but this starts with a starting pitching. If we can get some starting pitching in here, I think we can turn this thing around pretty quickly.
All right, Mick, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you again.
All right, guys, take care.
There's Micky Morandini.